If you thought palace drama peaked with your favorite soap, think again, because 19th century Burma had a mother-daughter power saga that makes Game of Thrones look like tea time. Queen consort Sinbumishin wasn't born powerful. She wasn't even born noble. Her mother was a commoner who sold snacks at the market, and that little detail haunted her like a curse. In the Burmese court, whispers of her low-born roots never stopped. Even worse, her mother, Queen Minu, once tried, and failed, to seize the throne, ending in arrest and execution. That humiliation burned deep. So Sinbumishin spent her life plotting to never feel powerless again. Her first break? Marrying King Mindon. Yes, the one who ordered the execution of her mother, as a second wife. Thanks to the mercy of the chief queen, Princess Sekyudui, who took pity on her. But mercy breeds resentment. Sinbumishin hated that her rise was handed to her with kindness, not seized. Though she bore King Mindon's 7 children, only 3 daughters survived. And when Sekyudui died, Sinbumishin expected a promotion. She didn't get one. That fury fueled her. From that moment, she vowed to never let anyone stand in her way. She would build power, claw for it, manipulate, dominate, and she did. So when King Mindon grew gravely ill, succession became a chessboard. Sinbumishin first tried to arrange a match between her eldest daughter Supayaji to a prince she believed would inherit the throne, Prince Nyangyan. That way, she could still control the crown as the king's mother-in-law. But karma said, not so fast. The prince's mother, once bullied by Sinbumishin, shot her down. Rejected, the match collapsed. Plan B? Her middle daughter, Supayalad, was in love with her half-brother. Yes, they shared the same father, Prince Thibaw, a mild-mannered monk type she could easily control. It wasn't ideal, but workable. Then came the infamous trap. Sinbumishin lured rival princes to the palace under the guise of visiting the dying king. When the king found out and ordered their release, she nodded and did absolutely nothing. When King Mindon died, she reportedly tricked him into naming Thibaw as heir. But coronation alone wasn't enough. She needed to wipe out every possible threat. So, she staged the Poilwang ceremony, cloaked in celebration and gossip. The drums beat, the dancers twirled, the laughter echoed, and beneath all that, the real show began. One by one, royal princes, princesses, and family members were called in and slaughtered. While the party raged on outside, their screams were muffled under the sound of clapping, chanting, and music. They were dumped into a giant pre-dug trench like discarded court robes. Somewhere between 80 to 100 lives, gone. It wasn't just a massacre. It was an orchestrated purge, a horror story wrapped in silks and lotus petals. Palace Cleansing, Burmese edition. Now, Sinbumishin had her puppet king, but the real controller? Herself, or so she thought. Once Thibaw was crowned, Sinbumishin offered up her eldest daughter Supayaji as the new queen. But Supayalad wasn't having it. Supayalad may have gotten her looks from her father, but she got her fire straight from her mother. Supayalad, never one to be sidelined, marched into the royal Agamahizi coronation and stood next to her sister, demanding to be crowned at the same time. It was unheard of, 2 queens anointed in parallel. But Supayalad made history, crashing her sister's coronation and demanding to be crowned at the same time. From that moment, she sat side by side with Thibaw and quickly proved who wore the real crown. But Supayalad wasn't done. Her marriage to Thibaw was never just a royal formality. It was a takeover. She banned concubines, enforced monogamy, breaking centuries of palace polygamy. Her sister never touched the royal bed. No one did. The king was hers, exclusively. And when Sinbumishin realized that Thibaw wasn't under her control, but her daughters, she tried to marry off the youngest daughter to another prince. Yes, to overthrow Thibaw. Supayalad was furious and clapped back hard. She stormed to her youngest sister, bullied her into becoming Thibaw's consort, and ensured her mother had no more daughters left to pawn. Like mother, like daughter, but sharper, meaner, and louder. Even more tragic? Princess Saline, King Mindon's beloved daughter. On his deathbed, he requested that the next king marry her and make her the chief queen. But Saline knew the danger. She knew Supayalad's temper and her mother's ruthlessness. To save herself, she quietly refused and became a nun. But Supayalad, ever jealous, spread rumors that Saline attempted to poison Thibaw and fled out of guilt. Saline was eventually forced to leave the nunhood and executed. Another victim in a court drowning in ambition. And then came the fall. Thibaw and Supayalad were born in silk, but lived in a fog. They had never stepped foot outside the palace. They didn't know their kingdom was falling apart until the streets told them. And Supayalad, still clinging to fantasy, she ordered her army to resist the British like a pageant queen screaming into a storm. She didn't know how to lead. She only knew how to control. When the British tried to open diplomatic ties, another mess blew up, the infamous shoe standoff. In Burmese court etiquette, all who enter must remove their shoes, not just out of respect, but as a symbol of humility before the Lord of the Golden Palace, a semi-divine figure. For the Burmese, we're sovereign and you show respect on our terms. The British refused. We don't kneel. We don't bend. We're bringing civilization. No shoes off. No meeting. Talks collapsed over footwear. That's how fragile things had become. The Burmese court was fed fake reports claiming Burma was winning the war against the British. And by the time the royal couple realized the truth, it wasn't from their advisors. One day, Supayalad stepped outside the palace and heard the truth from boys in the street. Burma was falling. She went back inside and whispered, "The country is lost, and we didn't even know it." The British exiled the last king and queen of the Burmese Empire to India. Thibaw and Supayalad demanded a grand send-off. Elephants, royal procession, reverence. Instead, the British gave them a covered cow cart. That's right, a cart pulled by cows to the Irrawaddy River, where a steamboat named Thuria waited to carry them into exile. Meanwhile, Sinbhumishan and her eldest daughter Supayaji were exiled to Tavoy, now Dawei. In 1887, a rebellion broke out against British rule. No proof, but everyone, especially the British, suspected one name behind the curtain, Sinbhumishan. She was still fighting, still scheming, still trying to claw her way back to power. So they packed her off to India to live under the same roof as King Thibaw and Supayalad in Ratnagiri. Big mistake. Within a year, the tension exploded. Mother and daughter clashed again, because of course they did. Sinbhumishan was shipped back to Rangoon, where she died in 1900. Still fierce, still unrepentant, still not done, even on her way out. Thibaw never returned. Supayalad came back decades later, as an old woman, worn and faded. When reporters finally interviewed Supayalad as a nun in her final years, she made sure they heard it from her. She had nothing to do with the massacre. She knew the rumors. Some said it was her mother, others said it was both of them. Historians lean towards Sinbhumishan as the mastermind. Supayalad might have been spoiled, tantrum-prone, and delusional, but she was also, perhaps, just another woman painted as cruel because she was louder and stronger than her husband. The truth? Lost in palace whispers. So yes, this is the story of a mother who schemed her way to the top, and a daughter who snatched the throne right out of her hands. Love turned into power. Power turned into paranoia. And ambition? It turned into blood. To secure the crown, they didn't just betray rivals, they betrayed each other. They didn't just break royal protocol. They orchestrated one of the most chilling massacres in Burmese royal history. One dynasty, two women, hundreds of corpses, and a legacy written not in gold, but in blood. They didn't just break the palace. They shattered an empire.